I'm Tom, I'm invested in the Cosmere, and today I'm very excited to be opening up my shipment of the physical release of the Cosmere RPG. Now, what we're going to do today is I just got my package in today. It's been very patiently waiting in my living room for me to be able to open up this the box and record it for all of you. So we're going to open up the box. We're going to see all the stuff that's inside. I'm going to kind of go through what I received and talk about the materials themselves. Not necessarily a lot of talk on the Cosmere RPG as a game, what I've liked, what I've disliked. This is more focused on the materials themselves. So the books, I got some miniatures, we got some dice to open up, we've got maps, we've got lots of great stuff. A couple more small housekeeping things. This is, I believe, the collector's tier with some extra things that I ordered alongside of it. I got more miniatures, for instance. And this is not sponsored at all. So when I got the digital edition, the digital release earlier on in the year, Brotherwise did give me an advanced copy for review purposes so I can make my videos. This, I got it just like a regular customer would. I was Kickstarter order number 54, yet the day that Dragonsteel put out the update that they had reached 60 some odd capacity or distribution rather of the materials. That is the day I got my shipping notification. So this is what just about anybody could expect to receive if you got this sort of edition. So with all that preamble out of the way, let's start opening up the box. This is very exciting. This is a long time coming. Everything that I ordered is not in this shipment. There are a lot of Mistborn stuff that just isn't ready yet. It won't be out until 2026, late 2026, I think is the last update. Cut the sound of the crazy cardboard packaging opening up. But, you know, this is all the Stormlight stuff, and the digital copies were so gorgeous and beautifully laid out. I absolutely cannot wait to see what's inside this box for the physical release stuff. Oh, I am so excited. Lots of really annoying paper sounds. I apologize for that. Out of here. Okay, wow. So I'll have B-roll of a lot of these things a lot more close up. Just so you can see the packaging and what's inside, the scope and the scale of everything. So I'm just going to kind of hold things up as I go. I have a box of the Cosmere RPG collection of the miniatures. This includes a lot of the generic stuff, White Spine, Dustbringer, Magnified One, all sorts of the minis. I believe these are all unpainted, although they are... It says premium miniatures, so at this point I kind of forget what I ordered. And then of course I have a second box. This is one of the things that I ordered two of, just because I do like to play in person a lot, and so I wanted to have a lot of these miniatures that I could mess up terribly painting if they're bare, which I'm fairly certain they are. But also, you know, just to have a lot of these are going to end up on a shelf for maybe the majority of their lives. So that is what it is. I have the GM screen. I have the punch out of all of the different tokens. These are really, really great for when you're playing in person, but they're also just kind of cool to have. Ooh, maps. Some of this stuff I will put up something on screen that if I think it's spoilery for some of the places you'll be going in the Stonewalkers adventure, I'll try to mark that as best as I can, but just know, you know, some of this stuff you might see something you're not expecting. Oh, it's a very heavy cardboard box, probably filled with books, likely filled with books. We have Stormlight dice, and we have two sets of cards. This is the plot die deck. These are filled with different types of opportunities and consequences that you know, as you're rolling the plot die, opportunities and complications, not consequences, that you can just, rather than trying to think of them yourselves, you can just draw from this deck. So that's pretty cool. We're going to take a look at these in depth and kind of thumb through them. And then there are item cards. So if you get something like a shard blade or different, you know, weapons and armor, there are cards to hand out to players so that they can have them and understand how to use them. Really great for first-time players who aren't used to managing an inventory. You know, lots of things like that are come in clutch. A bag with more die in it. I'm not sure if there are just 2 sets of die or I'm going crazy. Where to go first? I really feel like I'm doing myself a disservice if I leave the books themselves in these cardboard boxes, so we're going to go there. I apologize for all of the excellent crinkling and cutting sounds that you're hearing. I'm also trying to be incredibly delicate with these books, not overly brazen with the knife. I have seen on the subreddit a couple of people remark and show pictures of items that were damaged either by shipping or other types of printing complications. This could happen to me. I'm getting really ahead of myself. Bridge 9 Adventure in print. This is not a hardcover. I'm trying not to flap it around too much because it's covered in plastic. Really nice heavy duty plastic too, by the way. Like, this is not, they're not joking around with this. The first step, really exciting. Starter campaign for people who are not familiar with the Rosharan system or the Cosmere in general. I'm gearing up to run a group through that, and I'm going to have a more in-depth review along with some videos aimed at helping new players who aren't familiar with Roshar kind of get, you know, a more quick video form of that, the basics of the lore that you need to know to play the Cosmere RPG in this setting at this time. So not a full deep dive on all of the Cosmere, but just what do you need to know about Roshar as a random Rosharan adventuring at this time in Roshar's history. Again, sorry for all the cardboard sounds, because we have the books. I absolutely am just so excited to cut into these. The PDFs are incredible. The artwork that they've put together is a triumph. One of the most exciting parts of the leather-bound editions, if you've ever gotten your hands on one or seen one in person, is that they're filled with more art, more official canon art that wasn't in the original books, and they're usually specifically commissioned for that purpose. And while they're always gorgeous and always incredible, it always leaves me wanting more. And one thing that I've learned from this YouTube channel and running this YouTube channel is that there are so many talented fan artists out there, and partnering with them brotherwise has really created something absolutely gorgeous. And man, I just like, this is the slipcover for the 3 books. This is what it comes in. Beautiful gold work. It's probably not real gold, it's just stamped or whatever, but it really feels, it's got this nice like matte feeling to it. It's really, really crisp, really clean. This was one of the areas where people found imperfections, was in the books. And, you know, again, I don't know what they're doing about those situations, but, you know, something I think you kind of have to accept about having a piece like this is that over time, some of this gold work is going to fall away. Certainly shouldn't be the way you receive it, but it really is like absolutely gorgeous artwork. It's got this nice textured pattern inlaid throughout it, and it's absolutely stunning. The world guide, just incredible art. piece to piece, the gold trim on the end. I mean, this, as much as I want to sit down and like just play the Cosmere RPG with this book in hand and reference it, though the World Guide, it's all up here. You know, this belongs on the shelf, right? Like, this is going to look great. I will probably do a video where I talk a little bit more about my experiences with the Cosmere RPG and just tips for game masters while I am actively trying to find where on my shelf I am going to put these books. The Dungeon Crawler Carl doesn't even have a spot yet, so this will certainly take precedent over this. But just incredible detail work on the books. I absolutely love it. The colors are great. All of the art is just really, really crisp. And even though it's done with all of these different artists from all these different professional backgrounds, history with the Cosmere, it all feels like a unified piece of art. Everything kind of, isn't that sort of wildly different from each other in terms of art style and color use. I work in a marketing department for a not-profit for a living, and I work with our creative team a lot, and executing something with this vision, with the stakes that Brotherwise had, with the Cosmere RPG, it's nothing short of just an absolute triumph. And really, just all of this artwork, the way everything is laid out, is absolutely incredible. Hopefully you're getting really great B-roll footage as I am finally editing all of this together, because I'm basically just thumbing through the book and appreciating it. But we'll continue on. So that was the World Guide. Man, I don't know where to put these things so that they don't get overly damaged. Slide you in there, set you down. Stormlight Handbook. Hefty. None of these books are particularly light. This one in particular is, I think, the thickest of the set. And yeah, there's some heft to it. There's a lot of detail in this book. I think for my personal DMing style, I'll bring this to a session, but I'm going to encourage my players to use digital tools like Demiplane, not sponsored, or PDFs of the tools. They're just, especially with something of this size, they're just a lot more practical. Search features, being able to leave like little bookmarks and stuff. I will probably reference these a ton in videos and like have them on screen, but they're just so gorgeous, and like the gold work on those edges, everything is just so incredible that like I almost don't want to risk damaging it. I want to give it sort of the time and attention it needs, and sort of the respect that it deserves as a piece of art. This is a book I will not be opening to you, mostly because it is potentially filled with spoilers depending on the page, and I don't want to spoil anything for you and have you see something that maybe you will regret later, or your game master will regret later when you know all of their twists and turns. This is just such a cool campaign that I have been enjoying. Again, I'm not going to get super into the details of the game itself. This is more about the actual the art and the objects and all of that. And this is great. I'm really excited about these. The books are absolutely gorgeous. They definitely. It'll be interesting to see how these wear the test of time. Repeated use, being passed around a table. There's a lot of really what looks like delicate, gold work there, and so we'll see how it goes. I'm so excited about the Mistborn series now, because there's because Mistborn is older in terms of the Cosmere and release order, there's a lot more art of that out, fan art. But I feel like, the Cosmere RPG just opens this door where we're going to get a ton more. And that I'm just really excited about. So we got a nice little dice bag. I've taken this out of the packaging. Nothing crazy. Like, it's not the most premium dice bag in the world. It's great as, a sort of, oh, it's tied. As an inclusion on something like this. But, there are companies out there that make like really nice velvet bags that, are made from super high quality materials. This isn't bad at all, but it's not like top of the line. And the dice, really cool. There's a lot of different colors, interestingly enough. There's sort of the blue, I think they call these the liquid core dice. There's the blue sort of Stormlight ones. I have a purple plot die here, which looks really nice. And then kind of like a green one. But these are really nice. I don't know how to judge the quality of dice. I know that there's a lot of science into like balancing and, how many times does something roll on one particular thing or another. I don't know how to judge that. So they look cool. I will probably lament them or love them depending on what I roll with them, just like any other dice. Let's open up some of the soft covers here. I'm kind of realizing as I'm looking at all of this stuff, I need a place to put all of this. Some of it will end up on the shelves, but like the deck, this crinkling is going to be madness. I'm going to stop talking for a second and just get this opened. There we are. Welcome to Roshar and First Step, two new player-focused resources. This, isn't something I've actually run through just yet. There is a lot of detail in this book, however, about how to run a game. It's also a scenario for new players to go through. So I think if you're potentially a brand new game master and want to give it a try, this is a fantastic place for you to start. And it's also a good place to start your players if you're a little bit more comfortable, but you want to run them through something a little bit more detailed. So there's that. And then there is Welcome to Roshar, which is, again, kind of like a primer. You can thumb through it and learn about a couple of things. My video will follow some of the points that this makes pretty closely. It's not a video of this book, but there are some other things I want to bring into the mix that are not in this book and kind of connections I want to draw. And I think the video format is just a little bit easier to send to somebody. You send them a reel or whatever, or a TikTok. I'm on Instagram, but I'm not on TikTok. I tried, it didn't work. But I just think the video format's a little bit easier, but both resources will be great and use them in tandem. All right, what to open next? We'll keep on with Bridge 9. A ton of fun. Great start to a campaign. If you didn't get a chance to play this in the beta and run your players through it, it's not a bad idea to start. You don't have to go straight into Stonewalkers. Technically, the two aren't like directly related, as I recall, but I might be wrong about that. Also included some of the pre-filled out character sheets in paper format. I mean, this is it's like a little bit of a step up from computer paper. So you can also get these, I think, for free, and you can print them out yourselves. So this is convenient, not necessary, and if you end up losing them or they get damaged, it's not the end of the world. You can always print more. I want to find out what this is. Stormlight liquid core dies. These are the liquid core die. Again, I ordered a bunch of extra add-in stuff. I don't recall anymore what was what. Like I said, I was order number 54 when the Kickstarter came up because I had a bad experience signing up for Nexus last year and missed out on the VIP treatment because I was a fool and didn't have my payment stuff ready to go. Did not make that same mistake with the Cosmere RPG. Didn't get me this stuff any quicker, I will say. So maybe if future you doing a Kickstarter for something like this, don't sweat it too much. Get in there on time and all of that. But if you are order number 4,000 or order number 40, it doesn't seem to matter when it comes to the logistics. This took me way too long to figure out how to open it up, and hot damn, wow. I said before, I don't know what, how to, rank and rate dice, but I know what I like and what I don't like, and this is dope. This is, so it's, as it's suggested, liquid core, like there is blue sparkly liquid in the middle here, and it is clean. The dice feel very light, I think because they're hollow. With that liquid inside, and it's not as heavy as like a full piece of plastic. But man, this looks fantastic. Wow. The whole set is just gorgeous. Again, I mentioned it on the earlier bit, and I guess like if they were going to do something, they didn't do it for release, but they can always add stuff on. If they make these with allomantic metals in it, feel free to use that idea, brother-wise. This is going to be fantastic. This is just so... I'm going to have better close-ups. I don't even know why I'm bothering to hold these up. The corners feel sharp. These are like well-cut pieces. I absolutely love this. Like, it... Oh, the plot die with the blank sides really allow you to see it. This is a, like, almost don't even want to use these. These are gorgeous. I have to remember the order everything goes back in, but that is a delight. These are fantastic. Liquid core die, 10 out of 10. Let's look at some miniatures. I'm going to open up one of these boxes. I'm going to do one on this, and then I'm going to do another with the B-roll, and you'll probably get an intermixing of both for the video, but yeah, these are unpainted. These are great though, like little miniatures of all the different characters. I'm going to do close-ups of everything. Some of these you can get as SLT files or like 3D printer files, and that's great if you've got the talent and the patience. And I do say talent. 3D printing is not as straightforward as I would have hoped, although I'm sure if you spend enough on a printer, it maybe gets there. I haven't tried 3D printing anything yet. I have ambitions to do some painting of miniatures, but I don't know. Maybe there'll be something coming in the future on that. We'll have to see. Got to renew some old contacts so I can learn how to do this stuff. Okay, we're looking at plot die deck or plot deck. This is a really cool concept as like an add-on. It's totally not necessary. These are all just optional things that you can have if one of your players draws either a complication or an opportunity. They can choose to draw from the deck. And that is really cool. It also comes with a couple of condition cards. So these are different sort of conditions you can take as you're fighting. If you get knocked unconscious, what happens? And there's all the rules listed on here. Again, like this is just a nice touch to have while you're playing the game, especially with new players. Veteran players, you're not going to need this. You're going to have notes. You're going to know what's happening at any given time. But with this, a new player, rather than explaining it and then having to go over the rules, you can kind of hand this card to somebody and say, oh, okay, hey, you are stunned. And then hand them the card that says stunned, and they will go from there. Turn markers, these are great. Again, slow turn, fast turn. Let's people know what they're doing when you're playing. You can hand this to somebody and turn it over depending on what they have, and it gives them all of the information that they need. So this is really cool. Again, it's a great thing for new players, and I would say new game masters to keep organized and to make the game a little bit more approachable, a little bit more tactile. And I love that as a nice physical reward. I'm not sure how much of this stuff is coming to stores or will be available for purchase on the website. I think in Dragonsteel sort of style, they will have all of this available, but physically shipped to stores might be another thing. So we'll see when stuff hits shelves. I think sometime November-ish. We'll see. I hope you all have received your physical stuff before you could just go out and buy it at a store. You know, it is what it is. A ton of people ordered this stuff, so that can happen. And with all the shipping stuff that has gone on in the world, it's not surprising, you know, it has taken, well, it's not surprising. Let's leave it at that. Leave it at there. Okay, item cards. This is, again, Game Master, Helper, player-friendly, new player-friendly additions to a game. All this stuff is going to be in the handbook, but these are just little condensed, crinkle, crinkle, crinkle. These are just little condensed bits of information that give you what you need to know. Let's see. I'm trying to find things that aren't super specific to plot. Manacles. An item. You hand them to somebody. It has the rules right on here. These manacles can bind a large or small character. They can be escaped with a successful DC 25 agility test, broken with a successful DC 25 athletics test, or by dealing them 15 damage, or lockpicked with a successful D20 thievery test. A little bit of lore, little picture. Great when you are wanting to just hand it to a player, something that they're going to remember that they have. There is only, I believe, one of each individual thing. So if two people have manacles, you know, it's better kept track of via, you know, a sheet, a character sheet. But if you want to give it to somebody in the moment so that they can take down a note or kind of like see and acknowledge what's there, that's great. I'd also, you know, maybe at my table, what I might do with something like this if I employ them is make little piles of rewards. And so maybe it's, you know, a store and you want to put a bunch of, you know, maybe some fabrials, maybe some different items up. This is a way people can kind of peruse through it and see it. You could also pre-make, you know, some reward, some like treasure, if you will, and, you know, randomly call from the deck. I mean, don't put everything in here, but randomly pull from the deck a couple of different items. You know, there's like sphere cards in here that are sets of spheres and whatnot. So again, nice little addition, nice little game master trick to have up your sleeve. But you know, if you're playing digitally, these are just going to sit on your shelf. So think about your group and how you play the game as to whether or not you want to keep these or what you want to do with them. I might track down some specific artists and see if they're at Nexus and have them sign some things. So that's what I like to do with stuff like this. I don't think I'm going to open up. Well, you know what? Let's do it. I was going to say, I don't think I want to open this up on this particular bit of the walkthrough, this being the token packs, because, well, they're not really much to look at while they're still in their sheath. But I'm going to pop these guys out and use them at a table. One thing I have, pro tip, for game masters, especially, sorry, crinkle, crinkle. When you have a bunch of stuff like this, one thing I use to keep a lot of these things on hand and safe and easily transportable is, I don't know what they call them. I've always referred to them as like a bar caddy. It's, if you've ever been to a bar, and behind the bar they have these plastic bins with these little slots where they put like the lemons and the limes. Great for piling up a bunch of miniatures or a billion tokens that you want to bring to you with the game and use them if you need them. But, be able to pop out. I love this. This is an alternative to a miniature. If you want to just put a bunch of things on the page and not really call out any particular attention to it, or if you want to commit and use all tokens, this is a great alternative to having a bunch of miniatures and work really well on a grid format and are super usable. They also do a good job of conveying size. So you can see the relative scale difference between a Chasm Fiend and your standard listener when you're fighting on the map. And the big tokens feel just as imposing as they look on the page. We're nearing the end here. I'm going to have separate videos that I'll admit will probably take some time. I will be doing separate videos on some of these things separately that are just sort of recaps of what's inside, in more in-depth reviews, talking about how to use things, what to do with them. We have the maps. I happen to pull also the map of Roshar. This is great, a great little utility to have. Again, like as a pack, right? If you're running this in person, especially with new people, pulling out the fully in color maps, having the tokens, having the cards, it's a great experience for a new player. A lot of experienced players will certainly enjoy this. We'll definitely have a lot of fun using these, but really, like, there's a lot. There's a lot in here for the new player and the new game master who wants some really nice, high quality materials to very clearly understand what's happening in the game and the like. I don't mean to this is obviously a veteran wants to use a bunch of really good, I just spilled maps everywhere. A veteran's going to want to use really good maps, and, especially somebody like me, I'd spend a lot of time making maps for my campaigns, even for the most mundane of scenes. And that's true for everybody, but I think it's especially important for new players who want the experience to be as straightforward and well put together as it possibly can. And having all of these things in totality is a great way of doing that. And all of this is to say is it's just my general plug. A lot of people have talked about not having a group, not having friends who read the Cosmere and who are super interested in playing. And really, GM screen, by the way, gorgeous. I've never used something like this before. I think I will for the Cosmere RPG. And now that I have it and see all these different things that are here, there's just some stuff you really want. I'm actually going to take the time on this one and do a full video that lays out all of the stuff. There are definitely some things on here you need. There's some things you might want. There's some things that I would add to it. So I'm going to do a deeper dive into this. But on the last point, I was just rambling. And these videos are going to be rambles, and I apologize for that. But at the same time, I don't, because that's why you're here. There's over 1,000 of you here, so thank you. That was really cool. Love you all. New players, new game masters. This is a game that I think is really easy to pick up and really intuitive once you get into the swing of things. And you don't need to have this super in-depth knowledge of Roshar and of the Radiance and the big story that's going on to enjoy it and to play it. And so for new game masters or for people who have never done it before and want to have a group to run this with, like, find your local game shop, give it a try, ask people, hey, I got this new game, I've never played it before, do you want to give it a shot? People typically love that kind of stuff. And even if you have somebody who is just sort of wants to approach the Cosmere but can't quite get into it or has no interest in it at all, you can find a way to make it work within the setting. You have all of the tools here that you need to run a great game, to make it feel that step above premium. D&D has had some of this stuff out for years, but it's made by all different companies, and there's different, levels of quality. All of the stuff that I can see so far is super high quality and just fantastic. I'm really going to take my time and dive through some of these things in later videos. I hope, this format has worked for unboxing. It'll have a bunch of B-roll in it too, so hopefully everything looked really great. But thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you to all my subscribers who have stuck around as I have developed out this channel. It's been just over a year now. Nexus last year was really when I started it with the story deck stuff. And here we are, over 1,000 subscribers. So I really appreciate it. I hope to continue to make weird and silly videos like this about the Cosmere RPG and just the Cosmere in general. So stick around. And if you're not subscribed, definitely stick around. Subscribe. Check it out. I have a lot of fun doing this, and I hope that comes across and makes a better product for you. So with that, that's been the unboxing. That's everything. I can't wait to dive into some of this stuff in depth and really get a chance to pull it apart and to talk through it. So look for more in the future. And thanks, and I'll catch you on the next one.